the way to actually start to make sense of it is to cue into that difference between inspiration versus desire. Because it's not so much about just like never facing challenges or just like never doing anything that feels challenging. Because if you do that, you're just going to become frozen in place and you're not ever going to do anything. It's about following inspiration versus desire. Like, desire comes from things like fear and reactivity, whereas inspiration comes as just a natural flow of life. It just comes um is yeah, just like a natural expression of flowing with life. And most people hear the expansion thing, and then the way the mind hijacks that is it tries to prevent you from ever doing anything that feels challenging. But that's not the real that challenge, like avoiding those challenges, that's actually going into the contraction. Like it's about um being able to withdraw the mental resistance to the experiences as they are, and then life will just automatically flow, and then you'll just be guided towards more and more expansion, and you'll just flow with life, and you'll just be following inspiration. But that's much different than just never doing anything challenging. Like, Hale Dwoskin explains it really well in his conversation with David. He talks about how he got a new computer, and he's talking about how it's a lot of work to install the new computer, and then he has to get a new virus for it, and it's like quite a challenge to get this whole new computer set up for him. It's like not something he's familiar with. It's a challenging experience. And if he had been following the hijacking of the mind would have said something like, oh, like, since that feels like contraction, getting a new computer, I'm just not going to get one. I'm just going to wait until infinite being magically brings me a computer that already has everything I need. But again, if you do it like that, in like that personal judgment kind of way, that's not going to work. That's just going to keep you frozen in place. Whereas the true expansion was he was able to just flow with the challenge and withdraw the resistance that he had to the challenging experience, which was setting up the computer. And then when he's able to just set it up and like maybe put forth some physical and mental and even like emotional effort in a way to like install the computer. And he talks about how he had to install the virus software on it. But then when he was able to relinquish that effort to that challenging experience and just flow with it and just like do what needed to be done, that's when it had actually opened up. And he says that he ended up getting much more out of it than he ever expected, because he ended up discovering that on his old computer, because he had to contact the virus company, he ended up discovering that his old computer, it wasn't even set up right. So now that he got his new computer, they're setting him up with a new thing, and it's like something like cheaper, and he gets more coverage. Like, it's just better all around. But the point is, he would have never gotten that big expansion if he hadn't been non-resistant to that challenge and actually followed the inspiration to get the new computer. And then yeah, just withdrew the resistance and actually flowed with life. Whereas the way the hijacking works is it tries to keep you frozen in place. Like, another way that would play out for me is like with my like just like sharing my spiritual ideas and that kind of thing. Like, my invitation would constantly say like, oh, like when you're ready to like share your wisdom, like you'll just be sitting on a park bench or something, and people will just form a circle around you, and you'll just like be like Eckhart, and like the whole thing will just come to you, and you'll never even lift a finger. But like, that will not work, and that's not what this means. Like, if you allow that to like take over your mind, you are just going to become frozen in place and disassociated, and you're just going to become like nothing in your life is going to flow. Like, really, it's not about like, the sense of effortlessness is not actually really about the physical or mental or emotional. Like, effortless being is not the physical or mental or emotional bodies. It's the transcendent effortlessness. It's being effortless to the situation or the challenge or the challenging emotion or the physical challenge, whatever it is. It's being effortless to that exactly as it is, just being impersonal and neutral. Because if you never put forth any type of physical effort, you just wouldn't even move. So it's not about that. But so yeah, like in my case, I for so long, it was like I was really inspired towards sharing these teachings, and I really like, there was a deep inspiration in me that wanted to like vocalize what I had learned and just like share my creativity and share, like, I see this as like my art, like this is my life, and like I wanted to share it. But then that love and that inspiration, it kept getting subtly hijacked and distorted by the lower mind, and it would tell me things like, oh, like, no, like you should just wait, like you should just sit in your bedroom and just become more and more and more peaceful, and then when you're really there, everything will come to you. But that's not what this means. Like, that's the hijacking. That's the hijacking. And then when I was able to actually start flowing with life again and start flowing with some of these challenges, because that's the thing too, like these challenges that you've been avoiding, if you have certain challenges in your life, just little things that you've been putting off that you kind of know you need to do, or like you kind of like, you know, it's like some type of fear, like resistance or something around it, but you've just been telling yourself, oh, well, it feels like contraction, so I shouldn't go there. A lot of times these challenges are actually where the biggest payoffs are. Like that's where the biggest portals for growth and expansion are. But the way you get that true expansion is through relinquishing that resistance to the challenge. And then that's when you can actually handle it in the most full and complete way possible. And that's when my life has began flowing again. When I started allowing myself to be really, truly authentic with where I'm at and just flowing with life and like following real inspiration. And it's key to notice that difference between inspiration and desire, and to notice how the thing is, even when we like misstep or we do something that's slightly distorted, it's not that it's all wrong. It tends to be like 90% right, but then there's just a subtle 10% distortion. Like for me, it was like, it's good that I had that love. Like I had so much love for this that I was willing to never vocalize it, because I actually loved it so much and it was so important to me that I would cut myself off from vocalizing it because I didn't want to do anything wrong. Like, so it's good that I had that love for this and like that passion and that drive, but then it was getting subtly hijacked and distorted into getting me to actually silence my voice and not flow with life and not actually progress and share these things with people. And it's not about sharing these things in like a fearful, reactive way, but just in like an inspired, like flowing with life kind of way. And once I began doing that, that's when my life began to flow again and really open up. And like my whole life has been having like really big progression and movement. And like I'm really like involved in the human realm. And that's what life is supposed to be. Like enlightenment is actually the most human thing there is. Like it makes you more human. Nothing about this is about losing your humanness or losing your individuality. It's actually, you become more individually you. But so like flowing into that experience, like another way that came up after I made my YouTube channel. So I got over the big kind of hump of that. And even that, like, yeah, like it has certain challenges. Like there's challenges around learning to speak. Well, there's a camera on you. There's a level of resistance to that. The mind wants to resist that and like try to act inauthentic or like try to like force something. But then when you can withdraw that resistance, that's how you get better at anything in life. So that's like another example of a sort of challenge that I neutralized I neutralized my resistance to, and so I was able to overcome the challenge. And then another one was with the thumbnails. Like I had a lot of contraction around making thumbnails because the mind is like, oh, that feels contractive, like that feels like a lot of work. And it really was like really annoying making the thumbnails at first. Like it felt inspiring. I wanted to do it because I could see the thumbnails are like a cool way to add creativity and art to the videos. But at the same time, that kind of thing isn't necessarily fun at first. It's quite a challenge to like learn how to use like the new like Photoshop program or like whatever you're using, and then you have to like watch tutorials, and then you're trying to format the text properly, and you're trying to like figure out like different ways to do it in the most like aesthetic way possible, and like all this kind of thing. And at first it genuinely was not like a very fun thing, but since I've been flowing with it and I've just been relinquishing that resistance to it and just like flowing with the challenge and not like becoming frozen in place or like avoiding the challenge, now it's actually opening up and refining. I'm developing that skill. I'm becoming better at that skill. And now it's actually really fun. Now it's like I don't need to like watch a video to learn how to make the thumbnail. I have just acquired the skills. I've refined that ability within myself, and now I'm able to use it as a creative outlet. I'm able to flow my energy through that, and it feels really good and it feels really enriching. And so that's really key to see that this is not about avoiding challenges. Like a lot of times challenges are where the biggest payoffs are. And if you can learn to be resistanceless, like effortless to challenges, that's how you become really, truly unstoppable. That's how you merge the Shiva and Shakti and become like, take on that cosmic consciousness. Like, that's a sort of, crazy way to say it, but it's really true, because it's like you're merging that full individuality, and that humanness with this non-resistance. Like you can face the human experience head on, but from this place of non-resistance, and then you can face all your challenges and you can face all your fears. But again, you don't have to force it. It doesn't have to be from a place of reactivity or fear. Those things will just organically show up in whatever challenges that you're having. And then you still like flow through the challenge. You don't just like sit on your couch and put on like spiritual videos and avoid the problem. Like, you do whatever you can to handle the problem. But the key is, the way to do it in the most efficient way possible is through relinquishing that mental resistance. It's through relinquishing that part of you, which is labeling the challenge a problem. And then that's how you actually flow through it in the most expansive and like efficient and magical way possible. And so, yeah, that point about how inspiration gets hijacked is so critical and key. Like, another example is like, and this is kind of like a simple example, and some people might want to judge us, but it's honestly a really good one. Say, like, if you're a woman and you love like things like makeup and beauty and like fashion and that kind of thing, like, that could be a genuine inspiration for you, and that may bring you a lot of joy and love, and like that may be like 90% inspiration and love and joy, because there actually is a deep beauty in being physically beautiful and expressing your physical self and wearing fashion that you love, and like and like doing your hair and like all like doing your nails. Like, that kind of thing can be an outlet for creativity and beauty and sharing your light. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's okay, like that's not for everyone. It's not that every woman has to do that. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. But some women, like, this is just one example where some women will have a genuine inspiration towards that. And then the way the lower mind tries to hijack that is that either, usually first when they're younger or before they learn about the spiritual stuff, it hijacks it into like trying to like distort it into a subtle like fear-based thing where it's like, it knows that you love like the fashion or the like the beauty or whatever, and you really value like that aestheticism and that beauty, but it's trying to subtly hijack your love for it and get you to engage with it from a place of like fear or resistance, where it's coming from like insecurity, or you're trying to like cover up like something about your body that you don't like or something. It's trying to get you to do it from a place of fear instead of just authentic expression. But then the other side of that, the other extreme that the mind can take it to is like, once you get past that and then you're like being authentically yourself and like that kind of thing, and you're just flowing with inspiration, a lot of the times that's when we find out about the spirituality stuff. And then the mind takes it the other direction. It tries to say, oh, all of that inspiration is bad. Like, if you want to put on makeup and like care about your appearance, that's all vanity based. Like, that's all ego based. Like, you have to get rid of the whole thing. But that's not true. Again, that's a hijacking and a distortion. Like, if you have an authentic inspiration towards something, that's good. Like, there's nothing wrong with being you and expressing you in any way possible. Like, nothing about enlightenment is about losing your personhood. This is about becoming more uniquely, authentically you, and taking away your low frequency and your reaction patterns so that you can be you in the most full and whole and complete way possible. But so, yeah, that's what it does. It's almost always like, and that's how our greatest strengths get hidden too. It's like, yeah, like if we have so much love and devotion towards something, it's like the lower mind knows that you're not going to give up on that, and you're not going to give up on that truth. So it tries to subtly hijack it. That's the exact same way that people actually become like, sort of like disassociated or frozen in place, is it's actually their deep love towards this truth, and they're so dedicated to getting back to that place of truth that they're willing to do anything to get back there. And so they put up huge amounts of like resistance and suffering trying to claw their way back. But then that whole entire thing, that just perpetuates the cycle of suffering. Like, the peace that you're looking for is never in trying to like force any type of outer condition. You're not looking for conditional peace. You're looking for unconditional peace, the transcendent peace. And you actually always have access to that. It's in relinquishing that mental resistance to the present moment exactly as it is. It's that subtle mental resistance. And so, yeah, that's a really big distinction to make because, and just, okay, like just to give another example, I want to keep giving examples of this effort thing so that people really understand it. And think of like an athlete, like when an athlete is on the field and they're like a football player who's really in the mode, they're putting out huge amounts of physical effort. But when they're really in the flow and they're performing at their highest level and they're like really locked in, and they may even be putting out emotional effort too. Like when athletes are on the field, it's not that they're like neutral zombies. They're emotionally involved, they're mentally involved, they're physically involved. But the key is, even with all of that effort going, they're non-resistant to the effort. The better they are, the more in the flow they are, the more in the zone they are, the less resistant they are to that effort. They're on that transcendent causal plane where everything is just flowing through unrestricted. And then that's when you actually perform at the highest level in anything, in sport, in dancing, and recording YouTube videos, and having conversations, in anything. It's when you just are completely and fully authentically flowing through. And it's not about repressing effort. It's not about trying to avoid physical effort. Like the athlete doesn't like withdraw their physical effort to perform better, but they do withdraw that mental resistance to the experience as it is. They withdraw those subtle mental resistances. And largely, I mean, that's a lot of what is happening when the athletes train. They don't even necessarily cognize it like that. They're not thinking about like that's what's happening, but that actually is what's happening. Like they're becoming more and more proficient at handling very intense sorts of situations from a place of non-resistance and non-reactivity. It's like a boxer. Like that's what a boxer is training to do. Like I mean, of course they're training things like strength and like speed and that kind of thing, but on a subtle energetic level, this is like the primordial mechanism. They're learning to be the leader in the fight. They're learning not to be the reactor, because if you're the boxer that starts reacting, that's when you start losing. And when you're reacting is based on losing your neutrality, losing your balance in the causal plane, and it's when you start to resist the moment. Whereas the boxer that's the victor, that's the one that's going to be not reacting. That's the one that's leading the situation by being the creator instead of the reactor. And then that transcendent, all-powerful, effortless flow is just flowing through. And so they're going to be the victor. Like that's really what it's about. It's like who can engage with this challenging activity from the deepest place of non-resistance and non-reactivity, just actually responding to the situation and doing it in the most full and flowing way possible, like not restricting anything and not moving from fear. Because when you move from fear, that's to misstep. That's why like sinning is misstepping. That's what like sin is. Sin is really just to react to life. Like when you're reacting to these patterns and you're repeating resistance patterns, that's sinning. Like that's the real sin. But then also too, the key thing too is, so this is another example of hijacking. So say you do mess up and you really value like doing the right thing, the mind will take that love that you have for doing the right thing and it tries to hijack that love that you have for doing the right thing, and it tries to distort it and redirect it at you in the form of beating yourself up for doing the wrong thing. But the thing is, beating yourself up for doing the wrong thing, that's actually wrong thing number 2. That's another misstep, because that's a reaction to the reaction. There's never any sense in beating yourself up for like making a mistake. Like everyone makes mistakes all the time, but you can just, when you make a mistake, instead of reacting to it and then like staying in the past and like dwelling on it, you can just flow with it. And then that's how you actually continue to handle the thing in the best way possible. Like just flow through the mistake and don't react to it and don't cling to it and just keep going. And then things will just keep progressing and unfolding and opening up. And also that's when too, you can actually correct your behavior in the best way possible. Because when you don't dwell on the mistake and you're just neutral to the mistake from that causal plane, or that sort of like neutral, effortless, impersonal being, since you're not personalizing the situation and you're not resisting anything, it's like, first of all, you'll have the clarity to see the mistake, to see that the mistake happened. But then because you're not in a place of reactivity or fear or judgment, you'll have the openness and the non-resistance to actually rewrite the programming of the character, to rewrite the behavior on command. You'll just be able to correct the mistake. Like you'll just be able to notice like, oh, right here, I did this thing wrong. but there won't be any resistance to that mistake. You'll just be able to look at it impersonally, and then you'll be able to instantly rewrite it. Like, you'll just be able to, and it's something you get better and better at. But that's like, that really is key to see. Like, there's no point at any point, if you make a mistake, there's no point in like dwelling and reacting on that. If there's an authentic like grieving or something, like if you make a really bad mistake and you have some type of grief about that and that flows out of you, that's fine. But you don't want to be doing it in like a reactive, like repeating patterns, like resistant type way. Like, it's best to just always flow with life. And that's the same with an athlete. Like, an athlete, even when they're in the zone, it's not that they don't have little missteps, but the key is when they have that little misstep, if they're a good athlete and they're having a lot of success, they don't allow that misstep to spiral into more and more reactivity. They just flow through it. And then that's when things start to, perform better again. And then it doesn't really matter if they made a mistake, because at any point, even if you make a mistake, once you let go of that reactivity and you merge back with just that effortless flow of life and that flow of the moment, you'll be back performing at the highest level, and you'll probably make up for the mistake. Like, the mistake will probably get resolved. Whereas if you're overthinking the mistake and you're reacting to it, you're actually just going to perpetuate it and do more mistakes, and then like create more and more resistance.